Good evening, alien lovers of the interwebs. I'm Alexa, resident ookie spooky girly, and as a former radio host, I feel uniquely qualified to talk about today's video topic. Granted, the worst I ever had to worry about back in the day was dead air, or the risk of somebody cursing on air, which, hey, that is truly the end of the world when it comes to being a young radio producer, but I can't even imagine how I would have reacted back then if an alien ever disrupted my broadcast. My boss was a little on the scarier side. I would have freaked out. Question for you all: what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen interrupt a live broadcast? Let me know in the comments, and also stick around until the end of today for another edition of comment section shoutouts, and welcome to the top 5 live broadcasts that were interrupted by aliens. Number 5, the 1977 incident. So the Southern television broadcast interruption was a broadcast signal intrusion that occurred on November 26th of 1977 in parts of southern England in the United Kingdom. The audio of a Southern television broadcast was replaced by a voice claiming to represent the Ashtar Galactic Command, delivering a message instructing humanity to abandon its weapons so it could participate in a future awakening and achieve a higher state of evolution. Now, after 6 minutes, the broadcast returned to its scheduled program. Yes, of course I have the description. Alrighty folks, here goes. This is the voice of Rylon, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now in peace and wisdom, as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world, so you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings on our world around you. This is an order that you may share in the Great Awakening, as the planet passes into the new age of Aquarius. The new age can be a time of great peace and evolution for your race, but only if your rulers are made aware of the evil forces that can overshadow their judgments. Be still now and listen, for your chance may not come again. All your weapons of evil must be removed. The time for conflict is now past, and the race of which you are a part may proceed to the higher stages of its evolution if you show yourselves worthy to do this. You have but a short time to learn to live together in peace and goodwill. Small groups all over the planet are learning this, and exist to pass on the light of the dawning new age to you all. You are free to accept or reject their teachings, but only those who learn to live in peace will pass to the higher realms of spiritual evolution. Hear now the voice of Rylon, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command speaking to you. Be aware also that there are many false prophets and guides at present operating on your world. They will suck your energy from you, the energy you call money, and will put it to evil ends and give you worthless dross in return. Your inner divine self will protect you from this. You must learn to be sensitive to the voice within that can tell you what is truth and what is confusion, chaos, and untruth. Learn to listen to the voice of truth, which is within you, and you will lead yourselves onto the path of evolution. This is our message to our dear friends. We have watched you growing for many years, as you too have watched our lights in your skies. You know now that we are here, and that there are more beings on and around your Earth than your scientists admit. We are deeply concerned about you and your path towards the light, and will do all we can to help you. Have no fear. Seek only to know yourselves, and live in harmony with the ways of your planet Earth. We here at the Ashtar Galactic Command thank you for your attention. We are now leaving the planes of your existence. May you be blessed by the supreme love and truth of the cosmos. Yeah, it's a lot of hot air. Subsequent investigation showed that the Hannington transmitter of the Independent Broadcasting Authority had rebroadcasted the signal from a small but nearby unauthorized transmitter, instead of the intended source at the transmitting station. Here's the thing though. To this day, no one on Earth has ever taken credit for this. And that's with it being way past the statute of limitations, so my money's on real aliens. Maybe they do want to help. We didn't get rid of our weapons, we didn't learn to live peacefully, so maybe they're still waiting. And that's honestly pretty patient of them. Number 4, Max Headroom. I'm sure you all know about this one. The Max Headroom signal hijacking occurred on the night of November 22nd of 1987 when the television signals of 2 stations in Chicago, Illinois were hijacked, briefly sending a pirate broadcast of an unidentified person wearing a Max Headroom mask and costume to thousands of home viewers. The first incident took place during the sports segment of independent TV station WGN TV's 9 p.m. newscast. And like I said, both newscasts featured a person wearing a mask swaying erratically in front of a swiveling corrugated metal panel, apparently meant to resemble Max Headroom's animated geometric background. Now, for the first intrusion, the only sound was a loud buzz. This interruption went on for almost 17 seconds before engineers at WGN were able to regain control of their broadcast tower. The second incident occurred about 2 hours later, during PBS member station WTTW's broadcast of the Doctor Who episode Horror of Fang Rock. Now, with nobody on duty at the affected tower, this signal takeover was more sustained, and the masked figure could be heard making reference to the real Max Headroom's advertisement for New Coke. The animated TV series Clutch Cargo, WGN sportscaster Chuck Swirsky, Greatest World newspaper nerds, and other seemingly unrelated topics. The video concluded with the masked figure's rear end, which was unclothed, being twacked by a woman with a fly swatter while yelling, "They're coming to get me," with the woman responding, "Bend over, which would it be? As the figure was crying and screaming. Now at that point the hijackers ended the pirate transmission, and normal programming resumed after a total interruption of about 90 seconds. A criminal investigation conducted by the Federal Communications Commission in the immediate aftermath of the intrusion could not find the people responsible. Despite many unofficial inquiries and much speculation over the ensuing decades, the culprits have yet to be positively identified. Once again, bear with me here. Could this have been aliens watching our media from the skies and trying to use references out of context to communicate with us in a way they thought made sense? Like, as an ADHD girly who uses references to try and relate to people, it makes sense to me, so let me know your take in the comments. Number 3, War of the Worlds. So this is a Halloween episode of the radio series The Mercury Theater, on the air, directed and narrated by Orson Welles as an adaptation of H.G. Wells' novel The War of the Worlds from 1898 that was performed and broadcast live at 8 p.m. on October 30th of 1938 over the CBS radio network. The episode is famous for inciting a panic by convincing some members of the listening audience that a Martian invasion was actually taking place, and though the scale of panic is disputed, since the program had relatively few listeners, it was nuts. So the episode began with an introductory monologue based closely on the opening of the original novel, after which the program takes on the format of an evening, of typical radio programming, being periodically interrupted by news bulletins. Now the first few bulletins interrupt a program of live music, and are relatively calm reports of unusual explosions on Mars, followed by a seemingly unrelated report of an unknown object falling on a farm in Grover's Mill, New Jersey. The crisis escalates dramatically when a correspondent, reporting live from Grover's Mill, describes creatures emerging from what is evidently an alien spacecraft. When local officials approach the aliens waving a flag of truce, the monsters respond by incinerating them and others nearby with a heat ray, which the on-scene reporter describes in a panic until the audio feed abruptly goes dead. Now this is followed by a rapid series of news updates detailing the beginning of a devastating alien invasion and the military's futile efforts to stop it. The first portion of the episode climaxes with a live report from a rooftop in Manhattan, where a correspondent describes citizens fleeing in panic from giant Martian war machines, releasing clouds of poison smoke until he coughs and falls silent. Only then does the program take its first break, about 30 minutes after the beginning. Now, this broadcast has become famous for convincing some of its listeners that a Martian invasion was actually taking place, due to the, breaking news style of storytelling that was employed throughout the first half of the show. The illusion of realism was supported by the Mercury Theater on air's lack of commercial interruptions, which meant that the first break in the drama came after all the alarming, news reports had taken place. Popular legend holds that some of the radio audience may have been listening to the Chase and Sanborn Hour with Edgar Bergen and tuned into the War of the Worlds during a musical interlude, thereby missing the clear introduction indicating that the show was a work of science fiction. Actor Stefan recalled sitting in the anteroom after finishing his on-air performance, and a couple of cops trickled in, and then a few more. And soon the room was full of policemen, and a massive struggle was going on between the police, page boys, and CBS executives who were trying to prevent the cops from busting in and stopping the show. In the days after the adaptation, widespread outrage was expressed in the media. The program's format was described as deceptive by some newspapers and public figures, leading to an outcry against the broadcasters and calls for regulation by the FCC. Wells apologized at a news conference the next morning, and no punitive action was taken. Okay, I promise this is the only story today about fake aliens, but it counts in my book. Aliens don't like to interrupt the news. I think it's important. Number 2, a zombie apocalypse warning. So in 2013, TV viewers in Montana must have thought that a zombie apocalypse was finally upon us. During the airing of an episode of the Steve Wilkos show on the local station KRTV, a cryptic emergency alert began flashing across the screen. This was accompanied by a distorted voice warning viewers of a horde of dead bodies rising and attacking people. Now the station quickly followed this up with a statement confirming that they were hacked and that the claims were false. But what if this was a message from aliens from other planets trying to warn us about our future? It could happen. Weirder things have happened. Number 1, Art Bell and the frantic Area 51 caller. As the host of the paranormal radio show Coast to Coast AM, Art Bell's voice was heard in over 400 radio stations across the US on September 11th of 1977. This is when he received a call from a distraught man claiming to be a former employee of the nearby Area 51. The caller then detailed a reported contact with aliens and a conspiracy by the government to wipe out heavily populated areas. Now suddenly, after all that, the call goes off and the show loses its transmission signal. This abrupt disconnection raised questions about possible interference from the government. Now months later, somebody else phoned in claiming that, they were the caller. It was all a prank, but the authenticity of that claim is still disputed. Once again, and I know I sound like a broken record, if a human did this, they would have eventually claimed responsibility for a prank. My money? There's something out there. And that brings us to the end of our list, which means it's time for another edition of comment section shoutouts. From top 5 creepypasta you will regret reading at 3 a.m. User The Killer Queen 40 said, "My favorite is probably the Russian sleep experiment. It was one of the first I ever read, and the picture they attached still creeps me out when I see it. Ooh, I've read that one, and I completely agree." From the same video, user Boracho Wins said, "I'm a prison guard at a secret government prison. That's the best one I've listened to in a long time. Well, I might just have to check that one out. And finally, from the top 5 scary Jersey Devil sightings caught on camera, user Paid Young True said, "Video, and I've always been fascinated by the story of the Jersey Devil, and at this point I'm not sure whether it's real or not, but I hope it's real deep down inside of me. Hey pal, I'm also a firm believer that it's true." Alrighty folks, that's it from me. If you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more alien whodunits from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.